Hello and welcome viewers. You're watching this special coverage of Sansad TV on budget, and joining us right now two very special guests, Expenditure Secretary Dr. Govil and also Chief Economic Advisor Mr. Anantha Nageswaran. Sir, welcome to Sansad TV and thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Govil, let me begin the program with you. Talking about the major announcement that FM made on the floor of the House, the fiscal deficit target is kept at 4.4% of the GDP. Of course, the capital expenditure is around 11 lakh crore rupees. Despite all the relief measures that the finance minister gave, the government stuck to the fiscal consolidation path. Your opening remarks on that, sir.
This is actually a very important thing that has been done, that to keep the path of fiscal prudence. As you recall that our fiscal deficit used to be in the range of 3% to 4%. Actually, it was 4.6% just before COVID struck. After COVID struck in the year 2020-21, it went up to 9.2%. Now, at that time, the finance minister said that we will bring it down, and she said that in the year 25-26, we will bring it down below 4.5%. Now, obviously, it has to be brought down because 9.2% is not sustainable. So, we are happy to say that the ministry, the finance minister, whatever she has said in the parliament earlier, we have been able to plan for that, and we have now come back to 4.4%. This will help us in building fiscal resilience, fiscal buffers, which can be used if necessary. ऐसा खुदा खास्ता ऐसा ना हो, पर यदि कोई ज़रूरत होती है तो then we can, if need be, we can use it in future. But we have to first get to a robust fiscal situation, and this will help in getting us to a robust fiscal situation.
Absolutely, sir. Mr. CEA, this is the perfect amalgamation of robust consumption, investment, providing disposable income in the hands of the people, and finally the result on the economic growth. Your opening thoughts on budget?
I think you put it very well. So what more can we ask for? There is a fillip given to consumption. The government is continuing with its capex spending and also with respect to overall growth outcomes. So I think this is exactly the ingredients of a very perfect, almost a perfect budget here. It gives us a lot of confidence about our own growth estimates for the next financial year. In fact, we would be willing to stick our neck out and say that now the risk is that the actual outcome turns out to be on the higher end of the range that we talked about yesterday in the economic survey. More than that, many of the measures that we spoke about and wrote about in the economic survey find direct mention in the budget allocation with respect to agriculture, MSME sector, labor-intensive manufacturing, and also attention given to tourism, footwear, toys, etc., and then the deregulation itself. So I think considering all of that, this budget, even though it doesn't speak about the global economic headwinds, it acknowledges the global environment in its own way and therefore strengthens the pillars of domestic economic growth. So in that sense, it has laid a very strong foundation for sustaining the current high growth rate in the Indian economy compared to others, not just for next FY26, but well beyond, into all the way up to FY30 and beyond.
Well, absolutely, very strong pillars of growth. But Dr. Govil, the expenditure, of course, the budget talks about the expenditure which is pegged at approximately 50 lakh crore rupees, more than that, which is 7.4% more than the current fiscal. So going ahead, do you think it's going to be a tough walk as far as tax revenue, the balancing of tax revenue and borrowing is concerned?
Not really. We hope that if the tax buoyancy is as per the estimates that we have projected in the next year's budget, and expenditure, if there are no major shocks, then the expenditure should be online. Now, of course, we will, as we do every year, we have to be careful about the revenues. Are they coming? We have to make special efforts, especially on asset monetization and certain other aspects also. We also have to see if the expenditure on subsidies is increasing. The global environment, as has been referred to, if the oil prices or the some raw material prices go up, it could have an impact on the subsidies as well, especially the fertilizer subsidy, the petroleum subsidy. All that is what we have to watch for. But generally speaking, in a usual year, this budget estimates for some items are higher than anticipated. At the same time, certain other items is lower than anticipated. So on average, things work out. So if we have a normal year, then we hope that both on the revenue side as well as an expenditure side, we should be very close to the targets.
All right, and also talking about major sectors of the economy. There was specific focus on mining, maritime industry, as you said, MSME, manufacturing particularly, sir. How do you see the impact of these sectors unfolding on the overall economic scenario of India?
So you're right, absolutely. In fact, you left out shipbuilding.
Yes.
And the focus on, in the services side, focus on tourism, different dimensions of tourism, etc. And also the labor intensive manufacturing, and more importantly what pleased me was the emphasis on the energy transition, which the survey talked about yesterday. So the Honorable Finance Minister's budget did a lot of allocation to areas with respect to development of battery technology, grid capacity, battery storage. So many announcements pertaining to strengthening our capability to undertake energy transition, and also the promise to amend the relevant legislation with respect to atomic energy to be able to build small modular nuclear reactors and raise its share in the overall energy mix. So I think all these focuses are really with a long-term perspective, and they raise the productive growth potential of the economy, because without affordable energy combined with energy security, then the medium-term growth prospects would be under threat. And this budget recognizes that and starts building on the various initiatives that were announced in the last few budgets. And again, I would add one more thing. The budget also looks at the critical minerals area quite a bit. Not only the critical minerals mission, but also recycling, because much of it has to be recycled. Given the global demand for critical minerals, we need to develop the capability to do recycling as well. Even that aspect has not been left out in this budget. So that is why I think while the focus is very much on the income tax relief given to given to individuals, there is a lot more inside the budget apart from the tax proposals, which augur very well for the medium-term growth outlook.
And of course, the startups, look at the kind of attention that they got in this budget.
Yes, absolutely. I think last budget in July, the government took the initiative to abolish the angel tax, and in this budget, several fund of fund schemes have been announced, etc. And also for, as you correctly pointed out, not only startups directly, but also allowing the MSMEs to increase the threshold being increased for MSMEs to be classified, and also giving them some credit cards for micro enterprises registered on the Udyam portal. So these are all also will benefit startups as well as existing businesses.
Absolutely, point well taken. But Dr. Govil, talking about another very important aspect, as you mentioned about fiscal prudence and fiscal consolidation path that the government is adhering to, what would be the impact of this budget on foreign investors?
So one thing which the foreign investors are looking for is, one, policy certainty. Second, good fiscal environment, a good monetary environment, and political stability, of course, that is also important. So various features, and obviously the growth potential of the economy.
Yeah.
So I think on each of these aspects work has been done, and to make the whole system more robust, to increase the growth potential of the economy. And if all of this happens, then the attractiveness of India as a destination for foreign investors increases. Now, of course, it's also dependent upon the international environment.
Yes.
For example, what is happening in the major economies, and the tariff policy, the trade policy, the interest rate, the growth of the rest of the world. So all of that is also important. But if we have our fundamentals clear, if we have the right policies, then our attractiveness will be maintained, and we'll be able to withstand many of these small or even bigger disruptions, which from time to time keep happening in the international environment.
That's right. Given the geopolitical scenario, we're talking about investment, and not only foreign investment, Mr. CA, we're also talking about private investment within the country. Ease of doing business, the government has been talking about it. In fact, your economic survey also talks about ease of doing business 2.0. What does this budget mean for the private sector in the country?
Well, I mean, what the budget has done for putting spending power back in the hands of people with this tax structure change is actually has direct relevance for private sector. because one of the things that the private sector talks about is demand visibility for them to be able to undertake capital formation, and that's exactly what the budget has done. By putting purchasing power in the hands of the people, it addresses the demand issue, which should then incentivize the private sector to be able to undertake capacity expansion and greenfield capacity addition as well. So in general, not only putting spending power, by lifting the mood and changing the way in which the urban India has been looking at the budget and looking at their own fortunes, the budget has changed the dynamics for private capital, and therefore I expect that in the course of FY26 we will see a brisk pickup and rebound, or rather a brisk pickup and acceleration in private sector capital formation.
Absolutely, and I know the two of you have had a very long month, many sleepless nights, I'm sure, too many calculations to do. But before I let the two of you go, I'd just like to quote what Prime Minister said, that this is going to be a milestone in India's journey of development. Your closing thoughts on budget and economic growth, sir. Dr. Govil, first.
I think it's a very well balanced budget, which not only speaks about increasing the growth potential for the entire economy, but also keeps into mind the important sectors. For example, the focus on agriculture, the focus on MSME, the focus on innovation, the focus on reforms. So overall, a balanced budget which also keeps into account the fiscal prudence aspects. So I think it will be a good budget which will help us achieve a higher growth rate, as well as also improve the incomes of people, especially in the agriculture and MSME sectors.
Right, sir, you've given a very optimistic economic survey talking about Viksit Bharat and the growth that India needs. Your closing thoughts?
Well, I mean, you cited the Honorable Prime Minister who called this budget a milestone in India's journey towards Viksit Bharat. I don't think I can do any better than that.
Wonderful. So let's stick to that. A milestone in India's journey of development. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. CA and Secretary Expenditure. Thanks a lot.